With all the exciting hype surrounding Valentine's, you probably have some decent gift ideas swirling around, but you're waiting for the perfect one. Well, 1-800-Flowers.com is your answer, because right now when you order early, you can get 12 multicolored roses for only $19.99, or double it to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more. It's an unbelievable offer from 1-800-Flowers. This gorgeous bouquet of multicolored roses is a perfect surprise she's guaranteed to love. And remember, 1-800-Flowers is here for all your upcoming Valentine's needs. A dozen multicolored roses for only $19.99, or an upgrade to 24 multicolored roses for just $10 more. It's an amazing offer. When it comes to life's meaningful moments, choose 1-800-Flowers.com. To order a dozen multicolored roses for $19.99 or upgrade to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. Again, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO.
Rocking our way through a Wednesday morning. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are live from the Hard Rock Cafe at the Mall of America, outside Minneapolis, the site of Super Bowl 52, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic, and Sal Paolantonio is here, ladies and gentlemen. Our intrepid NFL reporter, insider, and a guy who knows Philly better than almost anyone. Sal Pal is here to join us, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Sal, how we doing, my man?
We're doing great. I'm embedded with the Eagles in their hotel. It's great. Doug Peterson's turned 50 today. It's his birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Big 5-0 for Dougie P. And today is also Justin Timberlake's birthday. How about that?
There you go. Not 50, by the way.
Yeah, 37, ironically. In fact, Doug texted me this morning. He said that he retired from the NFL at age 37. So
it's all coming together. Well, there's a plan. We're all pulling it together.
Going on there.
You want to talk about a little juju going on, and Eagle fans are going to understand this. This goes back to a guy that was, my teammate, but a great friend more than my teammate, the late, great Jerome Brown.
Yeah.
Jerome Brown is going to be 52. It's Super Bowl 52. You know when he's turning 52?
On Sunday?
On Sunday, February 4th.
Really?
Jerome Brown's birthday, February 4th, he'll turn 52. You want to talk about, give me a little bit of chills on that one,
Absolutely.
Saying, wow.
Well, here's why that's a great omen, because our former teammate here at ESPN, Mark Schlereth, he played in Super Bowl 32 on his 32nd birthday. And he said, you know what, guys? We're going to win, because there's no way I'm going to turn 32 on 32 and play in Super Bowl 32 and not lose. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they pulled off the upset.
I'm not a big believer in the, put those things together, but that one with Jerome.
But we just did.
I know you are, Sal.
I'm
but
a
that
Catholic
one,
schoolboy.
that one with Jerome really kind of, I was like, wow.
To Sal's point, Sal and I have had two of these experiences that have turned out, okay? Sal and I were standing next to each other at Super Bowl 36, which was the first Super Bowl after 9/11, between the Rams, who were the big favorites, and the Patriots. And the Rams did the normal
Superdome, New Orleans.
Absolutely. Strangest Super Bowl I've ever been to, walking to the Superdome, seeing tanks in the streets. I'll never forget that. First Super Bowl after 9/11. But we're sitting next to each other, and we're watching the Rams come out there, and they did their normal thing, and then the Patriots came out as a team. They weren't introduced, but they came out as a team. And Sal and I both got chills. And he looked at me and he said, Trey, there is no way that a team named the Patriots in the first Super Bowl after 9/11 isn't winning this game. And lo and behold, what happened? The Patriots won that game.
And they were 14-point dogs in that game.
14-point dogs. And then, spin it forward to Super Bowl 42.
Oh, man.
Sal and I are sitting at Glendale between the Patriots and the Giants.
We were in the basement of that stadium.
Absolutely. And we watched that first series where the Giants' defensive line got after Brady, who was a little beat up. He had the foot injury after the AFC Championship game. And Sal looked at me and said, if they can do this, they can win this game.
But we were in the
Sal's good on premonitions.
We were in the basement of the stadium at that game, and you were on the phone with Mark Schlereth back at his house. And we couldn't see the famous helmet catch.
Yeah.
And Schlereth is giving us play-by-play over the phone, and you were giving it to me.
Right.
And we never saw it happen.
That's a great story. When you cover the Super Bowl and you have to get post-game, you have to leave early in the fourth quarter, and they shepherd you down into the stadium. So there's no TVs down there. So I called Mark and said, Mark, Sal Sal and I and a bunch of 40 other people are walking down to the Super Bowl.
Can you give us the play-by-play?
Give us the play-by-play. So the first thing he says, okay, Eli, looks like they're in a zone blocking scheme. I'm like, Mark, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. Yeah. Just follow the ball.
Yeah, give me
it looks like a 2-3 game. They're playing. No. Follow the ball. So he did that, and here's how he described the great play of David Tyree. Eli, he's back to pass. He's running around. He's got it. First down. Great. Okay. So that was the play. So then we get down to the field, and we can see at the very end Plexico Burress catch the game-winning touchdown pass on a monitor. So I'm like, I'm going to be on the field. I'm going to make a beeline for Plexico Burress. I'm going to talk to the guy who won the Super Bowl in the hugest upset. And I do, and I run down there, and I'm the only guy standing next to Plexico Burress. And I'm thinking, this is the greatest thing in the world. I've got this one-on-one.
Everybody,
I'm everybody here. No one's around. And then I walk back, and there are 4,000 people around David Tyree. And I'm like, why are they around that special teamer? What's going on here? Yeah. Only later did I realize that Mark's call of Eli scrambling and first down was he's almost sacked. He throws it over the middle. David Tyree has Rodney Harrison all over him, pins it to his helmet. Greatest play in Super Bowl history. Yeah. Mark has no future as a play-by-play guy. He's really good as a color guy for Fox now. The worst play-by-play guy you could ever imagine.
Probably wouldn't have gotten a job if you had told me that story.
Boy, you're not kidding.
I could have killed his career.
You know, I know you're that superstitious guy. When you talk to these Eagle players, are any of them that way? Talking about for whatever reason?
Michael, you know that every player tries to go through his routine every single day, and these guys have got routines down. I mean, every player is the same thing, and they want to make sure. Listen, that's what today is all about, is getting back to your routine, right? On Wednesday, it's the first practice at the Super Bowl. And the one thing that Doug Peterson has tried to stress to this particular team is we're going to treat every game the same. We're not trying to make it too big or too small, whatever it is. We're going to do what we do. We're going to keep to doing what we are as a team. It's all about us all the time. So I think that's what they're doing today.
Well, the fun thing about this Philadelphia team is Sal Paolantonio is with us, our intrepid reporter here with Golic and Wingo on the road. Presented by Progressive Insurance, live from the Hard Rock Cafe here in the Mall of America. And all you guys, we appreciate you guys being here that people can't see them on the radio side, but they're here on the TV side. Sal, the one thing that I find interesting about this Eagles team is they may be the perfect embodiment of the city they play for. Because as you know, Philly and Mike, you know it too, walks around with that big chip on their shoulder. Hey, we were the nation's capital until they shipped it out to D.C.
Yep.
Everybody talks about New York. Everyone talks about Chicago. They talk about L.A. No one really talks about Philadelphia. And once Wentz went down, not many people gave him a shot to get here. I'll be honest, I didn't. I said, well, it's probably going to be very difficult with the Vikings are playing, the way the Saints are playing. And they've adopted this us against the world thing, and it's perfect for that fan base.
Malcolm Jenkins, after Carson Wentz got hurt in the locker room at the L.A. Coliseum, he gave it a slogan.
Yeah.
We all we got, we all we need. And that's Philadelphia.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And it's
somewhat isolated, but we're cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the best stories, and I've heard you tell it, and you say tell it again, is – and I think about from a player side, if you're a prominent player and you get hurt, man, I mean, there's two ways you can go, especially when you see the team succeed. You can kind of go in the tank and be like, oh, man, woe is me. Or you can be Carson Wentz, who is really, really taking on a different, very out front role.
Yeah, he's there every morning. Fletcher Cox told me when he arrives at about 7:30, every single day Carson Wentz's car is already there at 6 a.m. He's in the quarterback meeting with Nick Foles, with Nate Sudfeld, right there side by side, going through the game plan, making sure that he can make whatever contribution he can. And, listen, some of this stuff is soppy, and a little overblown, but the bottom line is these two guys really like each other. They're both faith-based individuals. They've formed a special brotherhood. They've said, you know what, we can do this better together than apart. And the thing about, I sat down Carson Wentz a couple of days ago, and he sat and talked to me for 20 minutes, a one-on-one interview, and a lot of it's going to be on Sunday NFL Countdown. But we've been running snippets of it. And I wanted to get out of him, is there any sense that he he has had any remorse about what happened? Does he have any envy at all about Nick Foles? And he doesn't. He really, really understands the moment is about the team and that his contribution should not be minimized in any way, shape, or form. What he did in getting the team to this point is just as important as what Nick Foles did in the last 2 games.
No question about it. And, when opening night happened, they put up a very interesting graphic, which I thought was fascinating. And it was basically the career numbers of both Nick Foles and Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
They're almost identical.
Yeah, they are.
Foles 19-11 as a starter. Wentz 18-11. Completion percentage, both at 62%. TD to interception ratio, Foles 52 touchdowns to 18 picks. Wentz 49 to 21. QBR, Foles 61 out of 100. Wentz 60 out of 100. Now, we're not saying they're the same player. Clearly, Wentz is
they're
going
much
to
different players, and one has had a meteoric rise to get to those numbers. Carson Wentz in just 2 years. Nick Foles' career has been more of a gradual incline. And the Eagles would not be underdogs at home against the Falcons in the divisional round or in the NFC Championship game if Carson Wentz were playing the game. There's no question about it. They would be underdogs in this Super Bowl. You're playing Tom Brady and the Super Bowl champs.
Right.
I get that. But it probably wouldn't have started at 6.5 points. But they have used this underdog thing as a rallying cry up to this point. But what I sense is they are pivoting away from it. You talk about chip on the shoulder, Trey?
Absolutely.
I think they're pivoting away from it, and I think Doug really understands that it's going to be about execution. They have this thing, no MAs, no missed assignments at all, because Brady will find one misassignment, and he will exploit it, and he will beat you, and you will go off the field a loser. The big thing about all of the Patriots' wins in the Super Bowls or losses, they've been one-score games.
Right.
And the difference really is contingency plan by Bill Belichick, Tom Brady exploiting one missed assignment. You go back to the Panthers Super Bowl. Kicked out of bounds, Vinatieri, short field, bang, field goal. You go back to Russell Wilson, throws an interception in the end zone. That was a play that they practiced. The Saturday before in the walkthrough, the Patriots practiced that pick.
And Malcolm Butler got beat on that play.
Yeah, he did 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times he got beat on that play in the walkthrough. And I remember the story that Darrelle Revis told me. He said that he sat next to Malcolm Butler on the bus coming home from the walkthrough, coming back to their hotel on Saturday, and he just told him, "You got to make that play."
Right.
Yeah, or else it's going back to Popeye's Chicken in Alabama for you. That's what he basically said to him. And so they have contingency plans for contingency plans, and that's the true Patriot way. It's not any kind of mystique. They got some proper prior preparation.
Next man up.
Do your
job.
You know what the best contingency plan, though, for the Eagles was made before the season started when Jeffrey Lurie talked to Howard Roseman and said, "Do we spend $12 million on a backup quarterback?"
Yeah.
And they agreed, because who has a $12 million backup quarterback? I guess you knew it was going to go that way with Gleason in Chicago once Trubisky, or Glennon, once
Glennon.
Trubisky turned over, he was making $15 million. But you spend $12 million on a backup. Or do you go with a cheaper backup?
Oh, there's no question that Howie Roseman, the executive vice president of the Eagles, is the executive of the year. You go Foles, trading for Ajayi. But you're going to love this one. I think the number one off-season or in-season acquisition for this team this year was Timmy Jernigan. I think he was the number one. Because
defensive lineman that they picked up from Baltimore.
Yeah, and because he's side by side with Fletcher Cox, and he has motivated and pushed Fletcher Cox. I think Cox, as a result, has had his best season as a pro. And Jernigan has a different personality from Fletcher Cox, more outgoing. He's pulled Fletcher Cox's personality out of him. I think they're perfect. And, yesterday we were talking to Fletcher Cox about Tom Brady, saying that the Eagles were no longer, you can't look at them as the underdogs in this game, 13-3, NFC champs and all that. And Jernigan said, "You know what? Game respects game."
Right. Real recognizes real, as they like to say. Nobody's realer than Sal. We got a lot more to get with Sal after 30 seconds. But first, Mike, you got this.
Time for a little straight talk. To win at basketball, it's all about your defensive coverage. Do you go one-on-one? Do you go zone? Similar coverage debates happen when choosing your wireless provider, but you should stick with Straight Talk. Here's why. You're getting great coverage with Straight Talk because they use the exact same 4G LTE cell towers as the big carriers, but up to 30% less. Get the ultimate unlimited plan for just $55 a month. No contract. On America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless only at Walmart. Savings may vary. Video typically streams at DVD quality. Refer to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, live from the Hard Rock Cafe inside the Mall of America. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, but Sal Pal has been gracious enough to join us on set
I wouldn't
here.
miss it. You kidding
Come
me?
on, partner. The one thing I love about both these teams in this matchup, Sal, is that I think they both embody what you have to do to be successful in the NFL, and that's just find a way to survive. I mean, both of these teams have been decimated by injuries. I mean, Julian Edelman hasn't played a snap all year. You can make the case that the Patriots lost their arguably third best option on offense in Julian Edelman before the season began. Dante Hightower's gone, their best defensive player. And then you look at the things that Jordan Hicks, the linebacker for the Eagles, is out. Jason Peters, maybe one of the 2 or 3 best left tackles in football. Mm-hmm. He's out. Carson Wentz is out. Both of these teams have found the secret sauce to winning in the NFL. It's like, what has happened doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter is what we do going forward.
And it's really 2 different personalities at the head coach position, because Belichick is more of a guy that's a clinician, right? He's going to make sure that he's got the players in the right place at all times. Peterson's got that great emotional intelligence, right? He understands football is not only tactical, it's psychological, right? You have to have the passion for the game. It's the only game that we still have where you have a license to commit a violent act against another person. It's not innate in the human being to do that. So you have to be motivated.
It's innate in some of them.
Well, yeah, you have to be
Fletcher
motivated.
Cox would be a good example.
Yeah, but you have to be motivated to do it on a 60-minute game,
yes,
right? Absolutely. Yes. And that takes a special kind of leadership, and I think Peterson has that. When I asked Doug specifically, it was really interesting. What are the 3 keys to the game? He didn't say Nick Foles and all that. He didn't say we got to get pressure on Brady. He understands that in this game against the Patriots, and he looked back at it. 1, turnover battle is absolutely the key. In the postseason under Bill Belichick, the Patriots are 15-0 when they win the turnover battle. You absolutely must win the turnover battle against the New England Patriots, or you're going to lose in the postseason. Belichick's the master at making sure that's a point of emphasis. Number 2, field position. And I'll tell you, penalties are going to play a big part in this game. Gene Steratore is the referee. What happened in New England is fresh in everybody's mind, how there was a total imbalance. In the 2 postseason games the Patriots have played in this year, 16 call penalties and accepted for their opponents, only 5 for the Pats. A major imbalance, and that is it is what it is. You're not going to be able to influence it unless you play a way that the referees are not calling penalties against you, and penalties determine field position in a lot of ways. So that's a point of emphasis for the Eagles going into this football game. And then number 3, without a doubt, sound special teams play. You look at all of the Patriots' wins, whether it's Vinatieri, whether it's Slater, they are sound in special teams in all of their Super Bowl wins. So I thought Doug had a really good handle on the details of what it takes to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Now, whether you can execute it,
right,
that's the key. But those 3 things I thought were really important.
In the area of covering all their bases, and it sounds like something a head coach would do, would Doug Peterson bring that up to the league or somebody about the penalties? Not to complain, or somebody would, not to complain, but just to make them aware. Listen, I mean, look at the disparity amongst the penalties here.
You've been in a lot of meetings on a Saturday before an NFL game, right? And the coaches who really understand all the details will talk to the players on Saturday. Okay, here's your referee. Here's what they normally do. They call PIs. They call defensive holding. They'll call offensive holding. They'll call hits to the head. They want to make sure you get into the strike zone of the quarterback. Steratore is one of those guys.
Yep.
If you go out of the strike zone and hitting Tom Brady, he'll call it on you. I've seen it a million times with Steratore. He is watching that you are hitting the quarterback in the strike zone. You go out of the strike zone, the penalty flag is coming out, and the drive is going to continue.
Well, the other thing there that's interesting is that we ran the numbers, as Sal Paolantonio was here with us, over the 34 playoff games,
right,
which is a ridiculous number.
Yes, it is.
That Belichick and Brady have been together in, and the penalty separation over that time frame was exactly 2. 166 penalties against the Patriots' opponents, only 164 against the Patriots. Now, you could say, well, that doesn't count the penalties that should have been called that weren't, but you could pick out that in almost any game.
You could do that all the time.
So it wasn't that big of a discrepancy that people talk about. It's just the 6-1.
Right, and they won't talk about, Trey, they won't talk about the discrepancy. They'll talk about the tendency.
Right.
Right? This is an all-star crew with Gene Steratore. So you're going to look at each one of those guys. And our guy, Kevin Seifert, who does it for the NFL Nation, ESPN.com, is working on that story right now as we speak. Okay, well, who's the back judge in this game? What does he normally call? And you know that the teams are doing the exact same thing.
Well, that's
penalties and field position will be a
to
big
let people
determinant
know.
in this game.
Players know the referees, know the officials. Most of them know them by name if they've been around for a while, and they know how they call a game. And I say this about basketball as well. Watch the first part
umpires in baseball.
Right, exactly.
Different strike zones.
Watch the first part of the game, because one of the best ways to stop a guy like Gronk is to mug him and mug him downfield.
And they can get away with a little bit.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
You try that. How do you get away with it? Is the ref throwing a flag? How much can you get him? Can you mug him past 5 yards? What are they letting you get away with? If you're a D lineman, is he calling holding? If you get held, you go to the ref. Hey, watch him. He's holding me. Do you then get that ref to watch and get a holding call later? This is all the stuff that goes on by the players on the field trying to buy and or sell calls, or more importantly, get a read on how the officials are going to call the game. And then you have to hope that they're consistent with it, and then as a player, you have to adjust. Okay, he's letting me mug him a little bit. I'll mug him a little bit. I'll mug him for 7. Maybe I'll try and get away with 8 yards. Oh, wait, they threw the flag here? Okay, I can't do that.
Game
I have
within
to adjust.
Game stuff. That
all the
behind-the-scenes
time.
stuff, especially as the game gets closer, you want to know what these teams are doing to get any edge. Like I said, every single one of the Patriots' wins or losses in the Super Bowl has been a one-score game. You got to get every possible edge that you can, because the Patriots are prepared in every single way.
And the weird thing is they've never scored a single point in the first quarter.
Isn't that unreal?
So, if they score early, that might be a bad indication. But I think this game's going to go down to the wire. I agree. There's never been a Patriot blowout except when they lost to the Bears 46-10.
Right.
No, I'm talking about in the Belichick era.
Absolutely. No, you're exactly
Belichick
right.
is the head coach.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
Every single one of their Super Bowls has been a one-possession game. Sal, always good to see you,
Sal.
man. Sal Paolantonio here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Rolling on here on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are here at the Hard Rock Cafe in the Mall of America with some hardy folks that got up very early this morning to be here with us.
Great.
We thank you for all of that. You guys have been great.
There's one gentleman who, and he and his wife are leaving. They're going to bring their son back Friday, which is we always think is important, is to have that kid skip school. We think they'll learn more here.
Well, absolutely. Now, it won't be what we call, air quotes, book learning.
No, there won't be any tests or anything like that.
But there will be learning. There's no question about it. And you and I can learn a little bit from our next guest. He's none other than the Hall of Fame coach and former player in the NFL, Tony Dungy, 2-time Super Bowl champ, one as a player, one as a coach, and in the Indianapolis Colts Ring of Honor. Tony Dungy is here, ladies and gentlemen. Tony, thanks for being with us.
Hey, great to be with you, and this has been awesome. Awesome start to the week.
Well, you obviously you have some roots here in the NFL in Minnesota. People forget that. They think of you obviously in Tampa Bay. They think of you with obviously with the Colts and your time with Pittsburgh, but you have some time here in Minnesota as well.
Absolutely. I went to college here.
Absolutely.
University
Golden
of
Gopher.
Minnesota, Golden Gophers, yep, Sky Umar. And then, had 4 years as an assistant for Denny Green here, and it was a great time for me. I learned a lot from Coach Green. He was awesome and really prepared me to be a head coach.
Well, I think the biggest question for me of your time here is I'm going ice fishing after the show today. Have you done ice fishing?
I have.
You
have. And there's two types of ice fishing now. You can get involved in it with the hut and the heater and everything, but that's not real ice fishing. Real ice fishing, they'll tell you, you have to have your pickup truck be on the back so you can be mobile, so you can go around and get to the right hole, and if they're not biting, you can go somewhere else.
Right.
So you got to.
So those are the two kinds. Okay.
I don't want to see you in a hut out there.
Can I just
You're
tell
about
you
to be
right now,
disappointed.
Ice House Fishing Line Beer. That's going to be me, my friend. Ain't moving. Sorry.
So the bottom line, what we've learned is Mike Golic, not a real ice fisherman.
No.
Got that taken care of. Just as someone who's been here, like you said, played your college football here, what does it mean to have a Super Bowl here in Minneapolis?
I think it's really special to show that you can do it in a cold weather climate, to show what this area is all about. And people embrace this. And hopefully it doesn't, snow and blizzard and that type of thing. But getting out, getting around, being hardy, just the Bud Grant philosophy that, hey, you know what? This is our home, and we'll enjoy it.
That is so true. There was nothing better than seeing Bud Grant in that -10 game against the Seahawks walk out there in a golf shirt at the age of 90. He's like, I got this, guys. For the coin toss. That was amazing.
So let's start from the player side of it. Where are they now? I mean, you've had you're about a week and a half into the 2 weeks, getting closer to the game. Now, where are they?
Really today, and what I did with our team in 06 when we went is we said, leading up to this, we're going to enjoy the moment. So coming in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, embrace all this. Get around the city, do the media day, take all your pictures, embrace it, and then Wednesday we'll get back on our regular routine just like we normally do at home. Okay, now we got to buckle down. We'll dive back into the game plan, have our regular practice. We'll start to get our curfews a little more in line with what they should be, and really start to think, okay, now we're preparing for game week.
You know, Tony Dungy here with us on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. There's been a lot of talk about some of the things in the NFL and the season that has been, and one of them that was really interesting in the offseason was the hiring of John Gruden as the head coach of the Raiders. There were a lot of people who felt like while the Rooney Rule, Tony, was complied with, it wasn't really applied in the way that went down. And how are you? What was your feeling about how that was applied and complied with, and the state of the Rooney Rule going forward?
Well, from day one, to me, and I worked for Dan Rooney,
right,
the best man in the National Football League by far. But his approach, there's a spirit of the rule, and to me, that's what it's all about. Dan Rooney's idea was slow down, take your time, investigate, look at everything. You got a blueprint for what you want, but look at everybody and then make a decision. Slow the process down. If you do that, you'll hire the best person. And that's the spirit of the rule. The letter of the rule is interview a minority candidate. Well, you can follow the letter of the rule and not even apply it.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of teams have done over the years. But people who take their time usually end up with the right coach. Now, this was a special situation because Mark Davis had experience with John Gruden. That's who he wanted. That's who he was going to hire. This has been like 10 years in the process.
Exactly.
So is there a way around this, or is it always going to be kind of the spirit of the rule honor system, how we're supposed to do this, where some are just doing it to appease?
Yeah, I don't think you can really look at applying the letter of the rule, because then you get to that. Hey, I've got to do this. Right. I've got to hire, or I've got to interview a minority candidate. But to me, it's take your time. And Mark Davis did take his time. He took 8 years.
Yeah.
I'm John Gruden's neighbor. I know how long this has been going on and trying to talk John into coming back. But in a normal case, if you will take your time, I remember Mike Tomlin getting hired by the Steelers and the whole process, and Dan Rooney calling me shortly before the Super Bowl. You know, we're in preparation, and he's saying, hey, I met this guy, Mike Tomlin. I didn't know anything about him. I know he worked for you. Tell me about him. And the whole process. And eventually he got comfortable and he hired a guy that's taken him to a couple of Super Bowls. And I think that's the message behind it. You don't have to hire a minority coach. You just need to explore everybody who's out there and then make the best decision.
Well, to your point about Dan Rooney and the legacy he's left behind, this is one of my favorite stats in all of sports, specifically in the NFL. Since 1969, Popes 4, Steelers coaches 3.
Yeah.
We've had more Popes than Steelers coaches since 1969, and Mike Tomlin is one of them.
3 coaches in that time, never fired a coach.
Yeah.
Every coach he hired took him to a Super Bowl. He had maybe you might want to think about following the way he does it, because there might be something in it for you.
No, I agree. The two decisions are too quick some of the other ways. So let's talk about coaching for a minute. And listen, I respect the hell out of Andy Reid, no doubt about that. But man, this one, Tony, I just scratch my head. You have a quarterback in Alex Smith who was under contract, and you had a guy in Mahomes who was coming back for a second year under contract, so there were no money issues there. And you basically have moved on. So this has to be something, you believe in this kid so much, and you moved up to trade for him, so you obviously did. But then seeing what you saw in practice, it's hard for me to shake the fact that you have a really good quarterback in Alex Smith, and you basically said, okay, we're done with you, and we're giving it to the guy with zero experience.
It is amazing. But I think back to here, and a lot of people here will remember this, Denny Green in 1999 had Brad Johnson, Warren Moon, and Jeff George.
Right.
and he drafted Dante Culpepper.
Yeah.
Dante Culpepper didn't play one play that season, and at the end of the day, he had been on the scout team, and Denny had worked with him. He'd seen him. 2000, he said, Dante's ready. Got rid of all those other guys, plugged Dante Culpepper in, and everybody said, is he sure he knows what he's doing? And Dante Culpepper was ready.
Wow, okay.
Everybody raves about Mahomes.
Yes, they do.
But you're right, Mike. I mean, Alex Smith is coming off the best season of his career, and suddenly he wasn't wanted. It's just bizarre. Tony Dungy here with us this morning at the Mall of America's Hard Rock Cafe as we're getting ready to continue our Super Bowl coverage. You know, Tom Brady is still doing this. You played and won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning when he was at his peak. Super Bowl 41, 29-17, there for a lot of those MVP seasons. But even Peyton Manning, as great as he was, could not beat Father Time. Tom Brady is finding a way to beat back the all-time undefeated heavyweight champ of everything. What do you think about what you're seeing from Tom at such a late age in his career?
Well, and let's even forget 40 years old. Let's just take 2001 to 2017.
It's crazy.
To be at that high level for 17 years, to say, hey, I've won 1, I've won 2, I've won 3, I've won 4, but still today I want to come in and I want to be the best quarterback in football. Even though I've done all that, and I'm still driven to be the absolute very best. That's incredible, and you just have to take your hat off to that.
You know, we sit here talking about how do you beat the Patriots, and we could sit, chapter and verse, and put pressure on Brady, and cover all the simple stuff to say. But for me, and I really saw it highlighted against Jacksonville, to me it almost seems like the most important thing, and you can expound upon it, is adjust to their adjustments. Because they're not going to stay the same. They're going to adjust, and you have to adjust again.
When we used to play them, when I was coaching the Colts, I'd always tell my team on Wednesday, you can look at all the film you want. We don't know what we're going to get. We've got to get through the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, we'll see what their game plan is for this week because it can change every week. And then if we're close enough, if we're close at the end of the first quarter, we'll know what they're doing, and now we can attack. But they have different game plans. It might be 5 receivers spread out, no huddle. It could be 2 running backs and 2 tight ends and pound away. It could be 3-4 defense. It could be something totally different. So you have to be able to adapt. The other thing you have to do is you're not going to beat them with your best weapon. Okay, we had Marvin Harrison.
Right.
We knew, hey, they're going to take Marvin away. They're going to do some things, so the other guys are going to have to step up. And that's what Philadelphia is going to have to do. Whatever Bill Belichick thinks is the number one thing, whether it's the defensive ends, whether it's the running game, he's going to take away what he thinks they do best and force the number 2 and number 3 option to beat you.
Bill Belichick's favorite line is we can win a lot of different ways. I mean,
they do it.
They decided to part ways with the guy that gave him 18 rushing touchdowns last year, LeGarrette Blount. Haven't missed a beat. They're back here in the Super Bowl using those running backs in a different way. Head coach Tony Dungy with us on set giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And there's no straighter talk when talking to Tony than realizing what he does in football is just one part of his life. The Legends for Charity are going to honor Tony Dungy with the prestigious Pat Summerall Award Thursday night. The Summerall legacy continues to support the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So, Tony, for all you've done for football and all you do away from the game, we thank you for the person you are. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Tony Dungy, ladies and gentlemen.
Greeny and I got to host that one year. It's an incredible evening. And
I've heard it's just unbelievable.
Fantastic, so and no one more deserving than you for this.
No better recipient than Tony Dungy. All right, coming up, the problems continue to mount in Cleveland. But there's no one left to blame, apparently, because this guy had all the fingers pointed at him, and now he can't even point the finger back with his hand. We'll get to that, Mike.
I'm so much more intrigued by the Juicy Lucy everybody's talking about here.
I'm in on that.
With the burger where the cheese is melted, again, on the inside, not over the top, So, cool by me.
Matt's Barn Grill is where that place
That'll work
is.
for me.
We got to find it. Well, you had me at bar, then you throw in grill, and then you mentioned cheese and burger.
Yeah.
I'm good. I really wasn't concerned like this was going to be some sort of like yoga.
Yeah, I was going to say, seriously?
No.
I like John. John actually tweeted in, do you feel obligated to eat a bunch of food while you're around Gold? They want to know that from you.
Yes, actually. Yeah. I find myself eating more, which is a problem.
We want to start off the mornings right, though. You had oatmeal this morning. I'm going to maybe get it tomorrow.
Very good.
Just to say we started the day off right, but the only problem is I usually wash it down with a donut.
Yeah, and then that builds the base for the Juicy Lucy. If you just had the oatmeal, the Juicy Lucy might go through you pretty quick.
Well, seriously? This is where we're going.
Good morning, everybody.
Are you kidding me?
So what you need is a little base to make sure, it's all there for the
It's all about
duration.
getting the proper fruit groups, gang.
So if you had 7:50 local time when the show completely went off the rails, you're the winner today.
Congratulations.
You know who's not a winner right now?
That?
Kevin Love.
Or Cleveland.
And the Cavs.
Cavaliers.
It was turning around a little bit. They had 2 straight wins. They're playing a team that had lost 8 straight. And somehow they find a way not only to lose to the Pistons, who don't have Blake Griffin yet.
No,
although Andre Drummond had a big game. But then they lose Kevin Love for 6 to 8 weeks.
So I'm a glass half full guy. Okay. And certainly if you're from Cleveland like I am, you at least had the Cavs in, the championships. We've had, obviously, the
3 straight years.
The Indians in the World Series as well. So you were right there and they had the championship with the Cavs. But I've always been a glass half full. So my thought is, okay, someone's going to break their hand on, the Cavaliers. Kevin Love, listen, he's surrounded by the controversy of this meeting where everybody's pointing a finger at him. Well, they can't point a finger at him anymore. No. He steps back. And of all the people that need to get worked into the rotation, my least worry, and this is just for me, is Kevin Love. Kevin Love has played in the middle. He's played, the forward. He's played the different spots. I trust his rebounding, his shooting. The other guys need to get in sync. Now, I get it. You want to get in sync with him out there as well. I understand that. But, it's better than all of a sudden Isaiah Thomas, who had missed a bunch of time if he broke his hand and had to miss time, or somebody else. So if it's him that's got to sit for a little bit, okay, let the other guys get their minutes, get some rotation down, get Kevin Love back. And still, even though I'm not going to lie, it is waning a bit, my confidence that they can just flip that switch like they have in the past and make it through the East. I'm still kind of trying to hold on to that as best I can.
Well, we just had
with a kung fu grip.
I was about to say, like a La Jolla man.
Oh, man, I'm trying.
You're clinging to it?
Trying.
We just had a really good graphic on the TV side that sort of explains why maybe it isn't Kevin Love, because one of the biggest problems for the Cavs this year, you're worried about the offensive efficiency. I'm more worried about the defense.
Yeah.
They cannot play defense. And when you have your core 4 basically out there, Thomas, Smith, James, and Tristan Thompson on the floor, this season with or without Love, well, when he's on there with those 4 guys, their net defensive efficiency is plus 3.8. Without him, it's minus 30.9, almost minus 31. So if the defense is the problem and he's not there, it looks like it's going to be a much bigger problem.
Then good. Yeah. Again, glass half full. He's off of there. Everybody, you start working harder.
Figure it out.
Start working harder. Yeah. Have some defensive, sit there and say it. You can X and O all you want, but a lot of defenses want to.
You are correct.
It is want to. And these guys just, now maybe physically they can't do it as well as others, but man, you can make up for a lot in a little bit of want to. And it seems like they've gotten in the habit of saying, when our want to comes around? When the playoffs hit.
Yeah.
This is the one year everybody's kind of saying, it may be too late, guys.
You might want to start a little earlier. We had Timmy Legler on with us last week, and he said, look, I watch a lot of that tape, and it's really more about just trying harder
than
anything else on defense. We are Golic and Wingo in the zone today from the Hard Rock Cafe in Mall of America, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. Ty Lue about the injury, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
It's pouring great guests for us
here
at the Mall of America. Coming up, our next guest, I think, is going to be very well received by the crowd. Because we're feeling Thielen.
Yes,
Vikings wideout and Minnesota guy Adam Thielen will join us next, the hometown hero on Golic and Wingo.